Hi, everyone. Today we are going to be starting chapter five. And chapter five is all on control systems. And so, specifically today, we're going to be focusing on checking accounts. We are going to talk about how to record a deposit on a check stub, endorse checks using blank, special, and restrictive endorsements, and we're going to prepare a check stub and a check. So, this whole chapter is all about how businesses use cash. So, in accounting, money is referred to as cash. And when we are paying cash as a business, this is usually done by check. We talked about that when we went over source documents in chapter two. And because cash transactions occur more frequently than other types of transactions, there's more of a chance that errors are going to occur. And the reason why that errors can occur is because cash can be transferred without question from one person to another, unlike a check. And cash can be lost as it's moved from one place to the other. So, because there are these likelihoods of errors, what businesses need to do is put some safety measures in place. So, as a safety measure, businesses keep most of their cash in the bank. When cash is received, they're going to deposit the money in the bank with written evidence to support the accounting records. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Businesses can then compare its record of checks written to the bank's records of checks paid, and we're going to focus on that in a later section. And then that is all of those safety measures together are going to provide greater accuracy. So, terms that we need for this section are first of all, a check. We already know what that is, but it's a business form ordering a bank to pay cash from a bank account. The money is going to be coming out of a checking account. So, a checking account is a bank account from which payments can be made, can be ordered by a depositor. When you open a checking account, the first thing that the bank is going to ask you to do is to complete a signature card. This is an example of a signature card, although if you go to a different bank, it doesn't have to look like this. Every bank has their own sort of version of this. But the signature card is the bank's official record of your signature. After you sign your name on the signature card, you must use the same signature on each check that you write. Then the bank is going to keep your signature on record and compare your signature every time you write or endorse a check. A signature card for a business would show the name of the business, and then it would have any signatures of those who are authorized to sign checks for that business. Now, when you deposit money into a bank account, you are going to complete what's called a deposit slip, and that's a bank form which lists the checks, currency, and coins in and account holders adding to the bank account. This is an example of what a deposit slip might look like. However, again, deposit slips can vary slightly. Also, something to note is that in my checkbook personally, I have deposit slips in the back of my checkbook, but then I can also go directly to the bank and get a blank um, deposit slip. It's just not going to be pre-printed with all of my contact information on it. So when you make a deposit, you also have to record that deposit. And in this situation, you're going to record that deposit on the check stub. Now, I personally use a check register. Or an Excel sheet as a check register, but here the way they would like for you to do it is to keep it right in the checkbook. And for this business, we are using a check stub instead of a check register. So I'm sure if you go home and ask your parents if they have a checkbook, they have a check register. Check stub is the same thing, it's just slightly different. And anytime you make a deposit, you have to record that you made that deposit, whether it be in a check register, Excel sheet, or check stub like we have here. So here, the amount is recorded, the date that we made the deposit, January 2nd, and the total amount 2000. You're then able to update the balance directly on the check stub check register, or Excel sheet. So the steps here are to write the balance brought forward, here 0, write the date of the deposit on the stub, January 2nd, write the amount of the deposit on the stub, 2000, and then calculate the subtotal. And again, you would add 0 plus 2000 equals 2000. Now, an endorsement is a signature or stamp on the back of a check that is transferring ownership. There's tons of different types of endorsements, but the three most common type of endorsements include a blank endorsement, a special endorsement, and a restrictive endorsement. A blank endorsement is just when you flip your check over and you sign it when you go to cash it. That's a blank endorsement. And again, it's just a signature on the back of the check when you're depositing that check or cashing it. Now we have something called a special endorsement, and that's an endorsement indicating a new owner of a check. So it's like if I am going to write the check over to you, the check is made out to me, but I'm going to give it to you. I would do a special endorsement. So I would write pay to the order of your name, and then I would sign my name. This could also be called an endorsement in full. Now, we also have a restrictive endorsement, and that's restricting transferring the funds or special endorsements. So you have a stamp here. It says for deposit only to the account of Delgado Web Services, and then it's signed. If you were to bring a check into school and I was to deposit it into a school account, we have a similar stamp. It says for deposit only to the activities account of Cherokee High School at Lenape Regional High School District. So that is a restrictive endorsement. Now, our next step in this chapter is to go over how to complete a check stub and a check if you need to write a check. I'm hoping that you guys have already learned this before, but if not, this is very important for you to know and understand, not only in this class, but in life. So please make sure that you're paying attention. So this is going to be two parts. First step we're going to do is fill out the check stub. And in real life, you probably wouldn't use a check stub. In your personal life, you would probably use an Excel sheet or a check register. So the first thing you're going to do is write the amount of the check on the stub, write the date, January 2nd. This is everything that you're writing the check out for. You're just making you're putting all the information into your own records. You're going to write to whom the check is paid on the stub, write the purpose, write the amount of the check on the stub. At the bottom here, you're doing that. And then you're going to calculate the new balance. So see, it's $2,000 here, and you're going to subtract the amount of the check. So you're writing the check for you're writing the check for 165. You had $2,000 here, so you're going to update the balance. $1,835 is how much cash you're going to have available to you after you write this check. The next step is to write the actual check. So you're going to write the date the check is issued, January 2nd. You're going to write to whom the check is to be paid. So we're writing the check to Eastside Supplies. And then you're writing the amount in figures, $165, and the amount in words. It's very important that these two amounts match up. If they don't, the bank will not cash the check. So you're spelling it out, 165. And then once you get to the part where you're going to put the cents, you're going to write ends and no over 100. Now, in real life, when I write checks, the bank will also, if there's no change, accept 00 over 100 or XX over 100. Any of those is acceptable, but in our cases for this class, we're writing no over 100. If this was cents here, like 79 cents, we would put 79 over 100. The next step is to write the purpose of the check. We're paying for supplies, and then we're signing the check here, Michael Delgado. Now, a lot of times people make mistakes when writing checks, and that's perfectly fine. You would just tear it up. You would write void on the check just so that no one could take it and try to write a check out of your account. I write void over the check, rip it up, but then I also need to make a note that that check number C24 was voided. So in my personal situation, I would write it in the check register or in my Excel spreadsheet. But here for the business, you would put that just in the general journal. On the 15th, I voided a check, check number 24, put a check in the post reference and just put dash dash, and that records that a check has been voided. So record the date in the date column, write the word void, write the check number C24, check mark, dash, and debit and credit.